Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're going to impartially break down the deeply fascinating teachings and writings from the founder of Lifechanyuan, Guide Sheifeng, or as it's written in the original source, 源自生命前缘创始人雪凤的教诲与著作. We're focusing purely on his source text today to see exactly how he blends physical science with spiritual metaphysics to chart a really unconventional path to human joy. Let's jump right in with a pretty provocative claim from the source text. Sufeng argues that worldly success, it often just masks a profound lack of true happiness. According to his writings, we spend our entire lives chasing joy, everyone from everyday folks to massive billionaires. But without fundamentally shifting how we view our own existence, we just end up with this deep inner emptiness and restlessness. So how exactly does Lifechanyuan propose we fix that? Well, interestingly enough, the answer starts with physics. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The physics of soul. 2. Resonating with the Creator. 3. Shedding worldly attachments. And 4. Redefining boundless love. Let's get into it. Section 1. The physics of soul. According to the text, literally everything in the universe is in constant motion. And where there's motion, there's vibration. And vibration generates a frequency. It's a basic principle. When an external frequency matches an object's natural frequency, its amplitude increases. Sufeng writes that the universe itself is actually a crystallization of resonance among all things. The more you resonate, the more active and alive you are. On the flip side, the less you resonate, the closer you are to, well, lifelessness. In this philosophy, frequency resonance is the absolute best way to acquire immense energy in life. Think about how a microwave oven works. It heats up your food incredibly fast because its electromagnetic field perfectly matches the vibrational frequency of water molecules. That physical resonance is what creates the thermal energy. Now, Sufeng argues that beautiful, harmonious music does the exact same thing, but to the non-material world of our consciousness. It triggers a resonance in human tissues, cells, and even the soul, literally elevating our heart rate, brainwaves, and spirit. It's the exact same mechanical principle, just applied to our inner life. But there's a catch. The teachings warn that resonance absolutely requires a specific quality, and that quality is elasticity. The text uses that famous historical physics metaphor of soldiers marching in step across a bridge. Because they're marching in identical, rigid lockstep, they create a resonant frequency that can actually cause a rigid bridge to totally collapse. The big takeaway here is that if an object or a person lacks elasticity and is completely rigid, resonance either becomes destructive or just impossible. You simply cannot harmonize with the universe if you're stiff and inflexible. Moving on to Section 2. Resonating with the Creator. Now this is where it gets really fascinating. Sufeng posits that souls literally cluster together based on their non-material energetic structures. He argues that consciousness itself is non-material, sure, but thinking still generates waves of vibration. So whatever non-material structure your life possesses actually dictates the frequency of your soul. You know the saying, birds of a feather flock together? Well, Lifechanyuan says it isn't just a social phenomenon, it's literal frequency resonance. People with similar frequencies are magnetically drawn to one another, whether that's in political parties, religions, or even online forums. Meanwhile, those with clashing frequencies find it physically and spiritually difficult to even coexist. So, what do we do if our frequency feels off and we're unhappy? It all loops right back to that concept of elasticity. To reach higher spiritual resonance, you have to avoid being rigid. The text points out that people with strong tempers, stubborn personalities, or super rigid attachments completely lack this elasticity. That's why they can be so unpleasant to be around. They literally cannot resonate with others. To change your frequency, you have to cultivate humility, gentleness, compassion, and kindness. These traits soften the soul, making it elastic enough to actually resonate with the greatest Creator, which allows you to absorb joyous energy instead of just burning it all up in constant arguments. Ultimately, Lifechanyuan guides its followers to align their frequencies to journey towards specific higher realms of existence. The entire goal of cultivating this elasticity and matching the frequency of the greatest Creator is to eventually ascend. They talk about realms like the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world. The philosophy states that if you focus your consciousness to resonate with the beings in these places, your non-material structure will actually change over time, allowing you to reach these incredibly high realms. Which brings us to Section 3. Shedding worldly attachments. To get there, Xu outlines a specific list of rigid, negative traits that drastically reduce a soul's elasticity. The text notes that people who cling stubbornly to their own opinions, who are constantly criticizing others, or who are trapped in outdated traditions and hostile to new ideas, they simply cannot enter Lifechanyuan. Even someone who is highly educated but completely aloof is blocked. Why? Because these are traits of extreme rigidity. They completely prevent the soul from vibrating in harmony with others. If you're overly cautious and mistrustful, you are literally putting up a frequency barrier. Overcoming these traits builds into a clear 4-step path for pursuing real joy. Step 1 is spiritual sensitivity, basically tuning your soul's frequency to resonate with the greatest creator, to clear out mental and even physical impurities. Step 2 is shedding the obsession with possession. Step 3 is humility, really internalizing that the earth will keep turning just fine without you. And step 4 is the courage of selfless dedication. The text argues pretty strongly that a person who is always calculating personal gain can never truly achieve a joyful life. So here's the crucial point. Attaining this happiness requires completely letting go of worldly ownership and traditional earthly attachments. Xu writes that we must stop obsessing over possession. The second you rigidly declare, "This is my country, my family, my husband, my wife," you instantly create suffering. The text suggests that the more we cling to the idea that we own these things or people, the less happiness and joy we can possibly experience. Ownership implies a rigid boundary, and rigid boundaries block universal resonance. And that leads us to Section 4, Redefining Boundless Love. Here, Xu introduces a deeply provocative thought experiment. He writes about a dream where every woman may have 100 husbands and every man 100 wives. Now, it's really important to note he presents this not to be scandalous, but to philosophically challenge our traditional societal norms about possessiveness. If ownership causes suffering, well then owning a spouse is the ultimate form of suffering. The text frames this idea as a way to maximize human affection. If love makes a 60-year-old feel the wonder of a first love and purifies the soul, then artificially limiting that love to a single, rigid, possessed partnership just artificially limits your capacity for joy. He argues that this concept is designed to break humanity free from the illusion of what he calls purposeful action. In this context, that means intentional, traditional, suffering-inducing rules of ownership over another person. The source text states that humanity has long been trapped in these illusions, like dreams and bubbles. By breaking free from the idea of literally possessing a partner, a person can enter a marvelous space and time where their heart is fully open to love society passionately, instead of just zealously guarding one single person. He draws a really sharp contrast here. Releasing boundless love creates heaven on earth, while traditional marriages, he argues, often create a living hell. Xu asks us to imagine, if spouses are constantly arguing, how can they possibly focus on building a beautiful life? Living with someone you don't truly resonate with, purely out of tradition or some sense of obligation, instantly turns heaven into hell. Conversely, he argues that a person's greatest potential and creative passion are awakened only in an ocean of love, totally unconstrained by jealousy or ownership. Now, he fully acknowledges that this radically conflicts with secular society, Christianity, and Buddhism, but he offers it neutrally as a philosophical spark. The text notes that in Buddhism, there are 84,000 paths to enlightenment. Xu states he's merely offering one highly unconventional spark to detonate a nuclear explosion of insight in our minds. The goal isn't to force compliance at all. It's to shatter the shackles of traditional thinking, expanding our brief lives into an infinite reality of happiness by questioning absolutely everything we assume about love and ownership. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a final provocative question inspired by Xu teachings. If we truly let go of all rigid possessions, traditional attachments, and the deeply ingrained need to own the people we love, where will our consciousness resonate next? Will it lead to chaos, or, as Lifechanyuan suggests, will it tune us to the frequency of the greatest creator and a higher, absolutely boundless realm of joy? Thanks for exploring these fascinating texts with me, and keep questioning.